Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Hello. So nice to see everybody.
Bright and early. Huh.
Rick and I meet at 8 o'clock a lot of mornings. This is like late in the day already.
Exactly, right? Right? It's hard when you're working from home. You have this different schedule. Like you're on all the time, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then I hate when I'm late to my 8 o'clock meeting, so I feel guilty. I'm like, I shouldn't be late.
You don't have to feel guilty. I'm usually like, oh, good, she's late.
I'm like, give me 5.
Well, thanks, Rick, for taking her at 8. So, I get to see her at 9. So that works for me. I appreciate it.
No problem at all.
So it's
Somebody give me-
Oh, go ahead.
Somebody give me some insight. How do I find the chat box? I had it and then I switched to Windows and now I can't.
It's on the bottom of your screen.
It's actually not on the bottom of my screen.
Huh.
If you hover over someone's name, you can like pull it up.
I hover over somebody's name. Okay, so I can.
They'll show like
Wait
a
a minute.
little. I just wrote something in there. Did it pop up?
No, I think I'm in a different window because, like I said, I started it a different way and then I joined it from my Teams thing. Let me get out of here. What time is it? Okay, I got 2 minutes. Let me get out of here and join it the other way.
Okay.
I'll be back. I think.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Okay. Now I can see it. That is the weirdest thing. So if I join from, I have Teams set up. If I join from Teams, I don't get all the features. If I join from meetings, I get all the features. Does anybody else run into that? No. Okay. Well, leave it to me to find the weird thing.
Good morning, Vaughn.
I think he's silenced.
I can't hear you.
I was trying to turn on my microphone. Hello, Joy. Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to see your smiling face.
Is everyone doing well?
Oh, what did I do?
Hanging in there.
No, I turned my computer just for Ryan. Where is he? Is he messaging?
He wrote on here.
So we'll give it about 1 more minute before we start because I see that people are still coming in. As a reminder, would you all please mute your volume to cancel all the background noise out?
Will do.
Do we have Soraya? I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Soraya?
Hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I just want to make sure you were in here.
Yes, I am.
Morning, Miss Soraya. It's nice to have you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, go ahead and get started. As a reminder, please mute your background noise. You can mute the volume. And if you have any questions, please write them in the comment section. We'll save all of the questions until the end. If we are unable to get to the questions, then I'll email them out to all the viewers. Welcome to the Division of Student Experience Coffee Hour. My name is Danielle Adair. I'm the Operations Manager for Kilcawley Center. The goal of this weekly coffee hour is to provide a space for faculty, staff, and to gain valuable resources and to touch bases while connecting with each other. Today's topic is supporting the mental health of students and staff. We'll begin by welcoming our expert panelists. If you all can, starting with Ann Jarowski, if you could say your name, position, department, and a little bit of what you do for your department.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, so I'm Ann Jaronsky. I'm a licensed psychologist by training, and I am the director of our YSG Student Counseling Services. So I do a lot of different things, including providing direct services to our students and overseeing our department, actually.
Okay, good morning.
We have Ann, okay.
Sorry. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ann Lally. I'm the Assistant Director of the Student Counseling Service. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor with supervision, and I do a multitude of tasks there. You know, I see clients, I do some work on with anxiety and some groups with anxiety and outreach. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Soraya. I am a senior exercise science major, and I'm doing my internship with the Department of Campus Recreation. Specifically, I usually work in the Wellness Resource Center, really working with the multitude of people we have there and working on marketing for students as well as programming, and also interacting with a lot of students in fitness assessments. So I just kind of do just about anything I'm asked of, which I love, and it's a great team. And thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, if you're ready, you can get started, Ann Jaronsky.
Okay, no problem. Let me share my screen here. I've got probably about 8 slides that we can start with. And hello, I am sharing my screen. Okay, hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so let me, all right, hopefully everybody can see the screen. So let's talk a little bit about supporting the mental health of students and staff. And okay, I've had this problem before where there's a little bit of a lag. Okay, so I guess the way that I'm thinking about this is, hang on, let's go back. Okay, can you see it now?
No.
No. Okay. Well, let's go back to technical difficulties. All right, what do you see now?
We do not see your slide, we just see the viewers.
Oh, interesting. All right, well, let's go back. Let me get out of this.
Well, while we wait, if you have any questions, excuse me, please leave them in the comment section and we'll answer them at the end.
Okay. Do you see it now?
No.
No. Huh. Well, let me just tell you what I'm going to tell you then. How about that? And I can give this slideshow to Danielle so we can have it maybe posted. Is that possible?
That is.
All right, so let me go back to, let me try one more time and then, okay, so it says I'm sharing. Can you see
I
that?
can see it. Yes.
Okay. All right, let's try this.
It is working.
Okay. Well, I hate that you're seeing my, that's not, okay. You got it? No. Yes. Okay. All right. So the way that I really wanted to start this is to talk about a framework. So how do we understand what people may be experiencing? And let's be honest, this is both external, what are other people that we know or care about or have contact with experiencing, as well as what are we experiencing, because we're all in this together right now. So I also want to normalize things when I can, as opposed to pathologize things. So I'm looking to help give us a structure and a framework, as well as try to normalize what we all may be experiencing at this point. So with that in mind, let's, go to, okay. So one of the ways to understand what we're experiencing right now would be to look at it through the lens of grief or grief and loss and the various stages of grief that people may experience. So if we look at the stages, if you read through some of this, I'm guessing that you're going to find some things that you can relate to, either personally, because that's what you've experienced or are experiencing, or these are things that, again, you recognize in other people. So just to quickly go through them, the denial, that's that. This can't be happening. Don't get it, just you kind of push it away, can't deal with it. The anxiety, anger, and fear stage is really about worries, feeling out of control, not being able to have some say in what you're doing. There can be a lot of anger and feelings towards others. Could be towards yourself, but towards others. So sometimes you'll see that in terms of people being upset about people who are perceived to have power or make decisions. So people at YSU, maybe some of us, anger has been directed at. People are worried about health and safety concerns, what may be happening to themselves or loved ones. The bargaining phase is that negotiation piece. I think I've heard a lot of that. Maybe I felt a little bit of it in terms of, okay, so if we do this lockdown, if we contain ourselves for X number of days, that will get us past a kind of a danger point, and then we're going to be okay. We can go back to normal. That would be the sort of bargaining point. Depression, again, speaks to that sense of not being able to make changes. So sadness, loss, but not people who, the graduation or what we might be experiencing in terms of our anticipated work, what this semester was supposed to be like. A final stage for people in the grief and loss model would be acceptance. So an ability to reconcile what they've experienced with what the new normal is, how to make sense of that, how to make meaning, and then how to move forward with that. I think an additional piece is one of anticipatory grief. I think this really potentially resonates with a lot of us because it really has to do with uncertainty. And from the beginning, we've been dealing with a lot of uncertainty. We just don't know what the duration of this pandemic is going to be, what the implications are, who may be ill, how we may be impacted, what does this mean for our jobs, for our students. So there's a lot of sense of foreboding and apprehension and really loss of safety. Again, that sense of loss of control. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the things that people may be experiencing as we are dealing with all of this and being remote. I think it's also important to kind of frame this and understand that just because there are stages, they're not linear. I purposely did not number them because they don't go in order. People can bounce back and forth in different stages and feelings. So if we quickly go back to, some of the stages, again, you could probably recognize yourself or other people at different stages and different times. So again, they don't go through in order. They're not linear, but this is just, again, a way to sort of understand what we may be experiencing. So that's one way to frame it, but that probably doesn't encompass all of the experiences and emotions that people may be having. So I've come up with a list, not all encompassing. There are probably some things that you could add to this that I haven't thought of, but additional feelings that people may be experiencing at this point. And they include being anxious. We'll get to some vulnerable populations, but those of us who already have anxiety issues, having this lack of control and unpredictability and uncertainty can just really heighten that. There's a lot of stress. Again, the unknown, we don't know what's going on. We don't know how this is going to play out. And that just heightens people's stress, worry, fear, depression, loneliness. For people who are extroverted or socially connected, not being able to be face to face with people may be very difficult. People feeling overwhelmed. I've talked to several students, some of our student employees who having to make the change to remote learning, being in a different environment, having to juggle different roles can be incredibly overwhelming. I know there are times that I felt very overwhelmed sitting at my computer and trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to work on right now? And being really distracted, and not just by things going on around me, but just in my own thoughts of what's most important and what should I focus on. People have feelings of helplessness or frustration, anger, disconnected, guilty. The guilty I put up there because the reality is that while some of us are struggling, some of us are struggling a lot, there are going to be people who are really not struggling, that this is playing right in their strengths, and they're enjoying being at home and aren't having the same impacts. Maybe some of us who still are employed are feeling guilty about people who don't have the same kind of resources. So that's a set of feelings that a lot of people may be experiencing. Again, not all encompassing, but just to kind of give you an idea of what some of the range might be. All right. Important to kind of think about who might be more vulnerable than others. Again, this is not all encompassing, that it's not to say that if you don't find yourself on this list, you were not impacted, or if you find yourself on this list, you are somehow maybe more impacted than others. That's not true. This is just a way to, again, kind of help us frame and think about who might be more vulnerable. Therefore, who do we maybe need to be thoughtful about connecting with or trying to be empathic about what they might be experiencing? So again, not all encompassing, but thinking about who may be vulnerable. Obviously, or maybe that's obviously to people, international students, faculty, and staff. So for a variety of reasons, people who are not domestic or native to the United States may be having some difficulties being away from home, outside of their culture, even more disconnected from family. That might make people more vulnerable to mental health issues or concerns. People of color. our LGBTQIA community. Frankly, anybody who might be from a minority or a marginalized or an oppressed group may experience more marginalization or oppression, or may experience some of these feelings in a disproportionate way than those in the majority. People who are dealing with violence in the home or unsafe home environments, I do feel for our students, maybe even some of us who are living in environments who may not be safe, whether that's emotionally or physically. People who are housing, food, resource insecure. Anybody who's a caregiver who is pulled in multiple directions. You're worried about homeschooling your kids or taking care of your kids, also working, maybe caring for elderly family members, being pulled in different directions. People with disabilities, so whether it's people who have a mental health diagnosis and are already dealing with some of that, or somebody who might have a physical disability, somebody who might be more at risk to a health concern. Anybody who, again, are graduating seniors. So this is not what they anticipated or we anticipated for them in terms of their final semester with us at YSU. I think they're having some especially difficult challenges. On the other side, then I also worry about our first year students. You know, this was their first spring semester with us, and this is not what we would ask for them or probably what they anticipated themselves. Um, and then I think people who are not, online learning is not their best format. There are people who purposely chose to take classes in person. There are those of us who purposely choose to work outside of the home because whether it's that separation or having a different environment allows us to be more successful. And when everything is all mashed together and we're in one space, trying to do everything, that can be really challenging for a lot of us. And I'm sure there are many other categories that I've not mentioned. So again, I'm setting the framework. This is some of what we're experiencing and what you could anticipate. I'm going to turn it over to Anne Lally and let her talk to you about how do you manage some of this stuff. And I'm going to mute my mic and stop sharing. So stop sharing.
Okay, thank you, Ann. All right. I'm going to start with some ways to manage. So let me share my screen, please. Okay. So can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I want to talk to you this morning about is managing like our stress, our uncertainty, and our changing work environment so that we're supportive for ourselves, but we're supportive for others as well. Currently, of course, we are facing uncertainty because, you know, the question is, when is this going to be over? How are things going to function when this is over? So I first wanted to look at some ways to manage our uncertainty. So one of the ways is to remind ourselves that this is going to take time for this stressful situation to resolve. We need to be patient with ourselves and others during this whole process. You know, when we're kind, it's a circular effect. When we're kind to others and they're kind to us, it just promotes that positive feeling. Secondly, I know a lot of us want to keep checking the news and find out what's going on, but it's in our best interest to try to limit the exposure that we have. So don't check in all day long, maybe once in a while. And you also want to avoid looking at the news or listening to the news right before you lay down to relax to go to bed at night. So this kind of segues into dealing with what is not within your control. And that's something that we want to be cognizant of. We have to learn to let go of things we can't control. If we can't resolve it and we can't fix it, but we continue to think about it, The only thing that's doing for us is causing us distress. It doesn't solve anything. So we really want to get out of the habit of ruminating about those negative events. And I know that's a challenge, but we're going to talk about some strategies to help you kind of get your mind into a more positive place. Next, I want to talk about kind of taking your own advice. All of us, I'm sure, find it easy to advise others. And the reason why we can give advice so readily is because our emotions are not clouding our rational thought process when we're talking to others to help them solve things. But when we're looking for a solution for ourselves and we're stressed at that particular time, then our emotions cloud our rational objective thought process. So what you want to say when you're feeling anxious and not able to come to a solution or kind of stuck in that stressful thought is, what would I tell a friend if they came to me and asked me about this? What would I tell them? When you imagine your situation from the outside, this provides a like fresh, helpful, rational, objective perspective. Lastly, it's control what you can. So we want to focus on what is within our control. So establish routines for your day and your week. This makes comforting structure in our life. Structure provides us with that sense of some control over what we can control. When we have that feeling, this lowers our anxiety and stress. So what can we control? So I want to look at 4 basic self-care items that we can do on a daily basis. So if we're not doing now, we can start to do them on a daily basis. This helps us control our environment. It helps us manage stress. It builds overall wellness and helps us build our resilience so that we're hardy individuals. So the first one is sleep. So everybody has to get restful sleep. So, sleep time varies. Some of us do good with 6, 7 or 8 hours. But what I'm talking about is restful sleep, being able to fall asleep and stay asleep. Because if we don't have restful sleep, we tend to be irritable and we don't focus as well if we're not rested. So if you cannot fall asleep, I've included a sleep loop there that you can see on YouTube. And that's when you listen to binaural beats, which actually help relax your mind and ease you into restful sleep. The second is about nutrition. So think about making sure you're preparing healthy meals and snacks. And I think it's hard right now when we're home. I know I want to go in the kitchen a lot during the day and have chocolate. That's my downfall. So I try not to, but this is something that's a challenge, but we can make it fun. So try new recipes, make it like a time together, preparing the meal together. And I've also included there the Nutrition Campus Rec website where they have nutrition videos that can give you some helpful tips about nutrition. Third, exercise. Now we know, research says that exercise naturally lowers our anxiety and boosts our mood. So we want to do that. So take a walk. We've had some good days. I'm looking out the window now. It's kind of cloudy, but you might be able to get a walk today. But if you can't, walk around your house, walk up and down stairs, go to the Campus Rec site because you can watch videos that you can exercise along with their instructors in real time. So that's fun. Next is have a support system. So connect with your family and friends. Do it safely by phone or social media. So support is actually a stress buffer. So when we are connected to others, we are not alone. So it helps us be less stressed or anxious. They can also be advocates for us, like keep us motivated, or they can be our accountability group. Hey, are you up? Did you eat breakfast? Did you exercise today? What are you doing to help yourself? So that is a good aspect of support, and you can do it for others. So additionally, I'm going to look at some relaxation strategies next, because self-care is something you build through your life. You do these daily. They help you through your life overall to make you more resilient and less stressed. But there are times when we're stressed in the moment. So when we're in the moment and we're stressed, what can we do? So that's what I kind of want to look at next, the relaxation strategies. So I've included some sites so you can practice them, because I've found that when people have something concrete to look at, this aids them in the process of learning the process, and then they can incorporate it into their life in the way that they want to do it. So the first one is breathing, and I included one from YouTube from Therapist A. It kind of helps you get in the good process of how do I do deep breathing. It's important while you are practicing breathing that you talk yourself through the process. And the reason why you want to do that is because it engages your mind as well as your body. So you're in the moment. You're not with your stress or your worry. So I tell people what you want to do is you want to inhale through your nose to the count of 4 and exhale or blow it out from your mouth to the count of 4. So you would be saying to yourself, I'm inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see your mind is engaged as well as your body. So you're in the moment and you can calm yourself, regulate your emotions. Meditation is a good thing to learn. This is something else that I provided an app, something you can learn to do. It helps us calm, ground ourselves. Once you learn meditation, you can call on that feeling and how to get to that process whenever you're feeling anxiety. So it's a process of learning how to do it, find out what works for you for meditation, and then incorporate it. The last is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness grounds us, teaches us to be in the moment, because once again, when we're anxious, we're not in the moment. When we are anxious, we're with our worry, and it's usually something we can't control. So we're worried about the past or something in the future that may or may not happen. But when you practice mindfulness, it doesn't allow you to ruminate on what you can't control. You're right in the moment, and provides calmness. So I included YouTube there. I like this one because it's 3 minutes. So it's quick. You can get a good idea of how to do it for yourself. She has a real kind of kind, soothing voice. So it's a good way to start. And once you get into the practice, you can be your own voice to help you with mindfulness. Okay. Lastly, I wanted to talk about our changing work environment. So I want to share some practical tips about managing your changing work environment. So many of us are experiencing stress and looking for ways to cope with the recent changes, because we had spring break, we were in face-to-face classes, and then boom, we weren't. So it came fast. So some of us are experiencing stress or isolation, or some of us are like learning to live with a group of people that we hadn't been living with before so much time, right? So that's another part. So what I really liked when I listened to last week's coffee hour, I'm going to kind of call out RJ Markowitz. RJ, thank you, because he talked about my first point. I was like, great, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Because RJ talked about creating his own workspace and how positive that was for him and his fiance, because that gave a sense of control, a sense of structure, and he had his own designated space. So thank you. And that is important. We need to create our own designated calm space where we work. It provides less distractions. We know where things are. And once again, that big word, structure. I know I say, try to turn off distractions, but when we're working, it's hard for us to do because we do have different, I know that I'm working, hear a ding, and I know, someone is trying to get a hold of me for something, my email. So sometimes that's difficult to do, but as much as you can, try that. Also try to make sure you manage your time by prioritizing, get a calendar, planner, write down your deadlines, okay, get that in there. Sometimes having different colors for different functions is helpful for a quick overview. And what's nice about this is you can check off your accomplished tasks. So this provides you with positive feelings and a sense of mastery. So, which in turn provides us with sense of control, right? Less anxiety. I'm accomplishing things. Once again, routine, have a routine. Get up, do what you need to do. That provides structure. Structure helps to mitigate anxiety by allowing us to control what's within our control. Always maintain a healthy balance, physical and emotional self. So you're taking care of your emotions, but you're also taking care of your physical being. So set up time during the day to take care of yourself. I know we're busy and I know we're working from home and it's a challenge, but take time to exercise, to relax, connect with your family, your friends in a safe manner. And so the last is be flexible. So roll with the changes. This is all new and it's constantly changing, right? So we're learning as we go. So you need to be kind to yourself and others. When we're kind, it provides that sense of inner well-being and relaxation. And again, don't try to control what you can't control. That is going to mitigate your anxiety. So lastly and finally, I'm going to talk about the resources from student counseling. So you see our phone number there up on the top and also our website. So if you call us between 8 to 5, we check rigorously during the day our phone voicemails and our emails. And so we will get back in touch with you. After hours, which is, after traditional hours, after 5 p.m., weekends and holidays, you call the same number, follow the prompts, which will ask you to hit 1, and you can talk to a mental health professional in real time. So that's a nice extra service as well. We want to remind you to connect with us on all of our social media. So we are on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We have our own YouTube page now. We have also been featured on the Student Experience YouTube, and we've also been featured on the Campus Rec YouTube. So make sure you check that out, connect with us. There's tips, how to get a hold of us, that kind of good information. So I thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I appreciate it and hope everybody continues to stay well. Thank you.
Thank you. Soraya, if you're ready, you're up next.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to start off by saying thanks for having me, and I hope you're all doing well in this transition. I can see all of your homes. They look very lovely. I just want to start by saying that you guys have all done a great job in making sure that us students feel involved and like we're not alone in this time. You guys have given so many resources to make sure that we can adjust to this transition well. And I just want to say that I appreciate it. And I know a lot of people, other classmates also appreciate it. So I just want to start by saying personally, I agree with a lot that Anne said. Their PowerPoint was spot on. A lot of the stages of grief I personally have been feeling since I am a senior and I'm set to graduate in May. Will admit I've been very angry, not at anyone in particular. Obviously, it's nobody's fault. But even like when this first all started, I was really scared of the uncertainty and what was going to happen with graduation, what was going to happen with my internship because I still needed to get a certain amount of hours. So everything was just very overwhelming. And even now, there are still bits and pieces of anger with not being able to experience the end of the semester that I hoped to experience. Even though everyone is doing their best to ensure that we can have a virtual commencement and to have the experience we were meant to have, it's more of like a mourning. I feel like I'm mourning my last semester as my undergrad, even though I will continue my education. It's just something I think a lot of seniors are struggling with. On the other hand, like Anne mentioned in her PowerPoint, freshmen are also really struggling. I have a friend who's actually, this was her first semester, and she kind of feels like she didn't really start college, and she's very, kind of bummed that this all happened. She understands that this is obviously not how it's supposed to be, but they had high expectations for what their first semester was supposed to entail and the people they were supposed to meet, making connections and meeting their professors and all of that. So I can sense some disappointment in the lower classmen as well as the upperclassmen. And like Anne also said, with the extroverts, human connection is really important. And I think it's our nature to kind of want to be around people and to interact with others. So not having that, it kind of takes away the sense of rejuvenation that at least I feel when I talk to my friends in person or I get to see my family. I feel renourished and energized. So not being able to have that, it is taking a toll mentally and emotionally. But I do feel that still maintaining that connection, even if it's through texting or if it's through FaceTime calls or just calling on the phone. Or actually, I even visited my parents at home, but I stayed on the porch while they were like 10 feet away, and I just kind of chatted with them for a bit, even though I really wanted to hug them. They're older, so I was, concerned for their safety, so I didn't. But just doing whatever you can to maintain that connection, I feel, is extremely important during this time. Moving off of that, I think a lot of students, I mean, personally, I'm lucky because I'm not impacted in the way that others might be. I don't have a family member or a friend that has the virus or may be old enough where if they do get the virus, it would be potentially dangerous. So a lot of students may be feeling the stress and impact from that. So their mind, as you can expect, is not really on schoolwork. So that is hard to adjust to. Even for instructors, I feel they may not know what to say to that student because how can you even really make them feel better? And it's not like you want them to ignore their family and to just focus on school because that's not, humane. But I think showing empathy and just being kind and patient with students, if you are a teacher, and even just students to students and instructors to instructors and everybody, I just think needs to really focus on being kind and patient with each other during this time. As I was going to say, exercise, like Anne mentioned, is really important. And as an exercise science major, I know a lot of the benefits that come with it. However, I myself am still struggling with motivation to exercise and to take a walk, even though I know it will be good for me. It'll make me feel happy. It's hard to get in that mindset, especially when you're just at home all the time. And because of that, it's also been hard to focus on school when I don't have that outlet for stress, because exercise I use a lot to calm my mind and to relieve any tension I have. So they kind of all fall on each other, like a kind of like a domino effect, one thing after another. And it's hard for anyone to really say what the best thing to do is. But I think it's really important. I know I've done a couple of videos for at-home exercises that Campus Rec has put on their website. And I hope those are helping. I hope people are watching them, even if, they may not have the best Wi-Fi to get on and watch them, even if it sparks some sort of motivation in students. I think that's awesome. Because I know working out with a friend or at least with someone else makes it easier. Like I said, Campus Rec, I think, is doing a lot to help students, and as well as all of you guys are doing to help students. You guys are amazing. But I think there's kind of a point where there's not much more you can do once you've hit a point where you've given all the resources you can and you've given all of the emotional support you can. A lot of it has to deal with just the personal emotion of students and the grief they may be feeling and the overwhelming emotion that they may not know how to deal with. A lot of it kind of just falls back on whether they want to find the resources themselves. And I don't want to be harsh in that way, saying that we can't do anything to help students, but I feel sometimes professionals take, what's the word? They're too hard on themselves sometimes because they feel like they can always do more. But I promise you, you guys are doing so much. And sometimes I feel like it's really just nothing more that you can do because it's really something that we all have to go through. And eventually it will be over and we're going to really know who was there for us. And that is all of you guys. So as far as what you guys can do to help students, I think you've done more than enough. And like Anne also said, with the environment, students that may not have the best home life, it may be exceedingly hard for them to focus on online schooling, especially if their material is really hard and not really the best format for online, they may be struggling to deeply understand it or to comprehend it in the way that they should. And that leads them to just kind of trying to stay afloat, just trying to maintain a good grade, but not really absorbing the information because online format isn't the best for some people. I know my friend, she really struggles with online and she's a business major. So a lot of the information that she has to learn is stuff that is better explained in person. And she had to change like 3 of her classes to credit note because she didn't want to jeopardize her GPA. But she also graduates in May, so that kind of affects it. I'm not really sure how credit no credit works, if that affects your GPA or if it's just going to show as nothing. Regardless, I know that she's not very happy about that, but we all are trying our best. So I just think the best thing that we can all do, like Anne mentioned, is to stay healthy mentally as best as we can, taking time for ourselves every day to do things that make us happy. Exercising obviously is really important, even if you don't want to do a 30-minute cardio exercise, because let's be honest, the home isn't really the best place for that. But taking a walk outside, even if it's maybe not as sunny like it is today, it releases a lot of good feeling chemicals that can help us. Mindful breathing, I've read a lot of studies that show 5 minutes of just paying attention to your breathing can help you actually focus and be more what's the word? Attentive to the tasks that you're working on. Being kind to yourself and to others, knowing that everyone is feeling a multitude of emotions, kind of just acknowledging that you're feeling those emotions and letting them consume you for the time being and then moving on. I think communicating with others as best as you can, whether it's friends or family, even professors, especially professors, because obviously you want to make sure that that communication line is open. And I know that a professor is not going to make you turn in an assignment, even if you are late by a day because you had some sort of family or issue, especially right now with the virus. So I think everyone is more patient and lenient right now. I actually made a Canva flyer for Campus Rec, kind of describing ways that you can be more productive at home. I don't know if we put that flyer anywhere, but I just wanted to touch on things that I put on there just so we could have them. To develop a morning routine. So maybe if it's having your morning cup of coffee or maybe watching your favorite TV show or watching the weather, just making sure you do that every morning really gets a routine going. It can help you be more productive. Working somewhere that isn't your bed, like Anne said for last week when RJ mentioned that he developed his own workspace. That is incredibly important because if you are working from your bed, it's not going to be associated with rest anymore. So when you're not working and you're trying to sleep, you're just going to have poor quality of sleep and you kind of just want to get out and have your own space to work and it'll really help you stay focused. Dressing for success. I know we all love to stay in our PJs all day. I particularly love that, but right now I'm not wearing my PJs and I do feel a little bit more professional. And the psychologist, I forget her name, but I read that you gain the personality of the outfit that you're wearing. So if you dress like a lawyer, you're going to feel like you're a lawyer. Or if you dress like you're in sweats and a hoodie, you feel more inclined to take a nap, which is okay. Take a 30-minute nap and it'll all be fine. But also multitasking carefully. I know we all love to do multiple things at once, but if you have 3 really big projects that require a lot of focus and a lot of effort, you don't want to take away the efficiency of those and then kind of just divvy them up. You kind of just want to focus on one big project at a time and maybe multitask by doing other projects that may not need as much of your attention. And then lastly, rewarding yourself. So if you do 2 hours of work, this is what I do. And then I reward myself with watching an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And then I go back and forth because that helps me. I like to have a balance with work and play. That's kind of what I found works best. So that is what I have. I hope that kind of gave you insight to what students are going through. I know this is just my perspective, but many of my friends seem to be going through the same thing. Obviously, there are many people students who may have it worse, who may have family members with the virus that are in the hospital. They may have lost loved ones and may be really, really suffering right now. And all I can do is to be kind and mindful of that, especially if you're a teacher, to maybe realize that that assignment can be a little bit late. And that's okay as long as that student feels like they are supported. So like I said, I hope that helped in any way possible. And hopefully I gave some sort of information, but thank you for having me. And Anne, those presentations were great. I really took a lot from those. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. We had a couple questions. If any of the panelists would jump in and answer them, that would be great. What suggestions do you have for extroverts who may be missing the face-to-face interaction?
Well, this is Ann Jaronsky. My suggestions are a couple of different things. One would be, I always think it's important when you're struggling with something, the first step would be to recognize that you're struggling. So just even acknowledging to yourself, if you're an extrovert, if you're missing the face-to-face or the literally being in the same room with people, first step, just go ahead and acknowledge that, even just to yourself. There's something about we don't do well with uncertainty. So if you can put it out there and put a label on it or name it, that allows us to manage it in a different way. So that would be a first step. I think things that you probably already know or are already doing. So if you're an extrovert and you need that extra connection, finding ways to make it happen. I mean, one of the things I liked about what Anne was saying in terms of, I think she mentioned it in terms of like accountability groups. So there are lots of different ways to play off any of the things that the three of us might have mentioned. But if you're an extrovert, find your group, find your people. Are you on a Facebook group? Are you in an exercise group? Any of these WebEx meetings or Zoom meetings? What do you do church online or remotely at this point? Like, where is your group, and making sure that you're connecting with them on a regular basis. No, it's not the same as being face-to-face in person. For those of us that are touchy-feely, it's not the same as being able to give somebody a hug or, see their facial expressions. I mean, I prefer meeting with people WebEx rather than on the phone, because at least I can see people. Are we connecting? Are you getting through to? Am I getting through to you? Are you getting through to me? So making sure that you're doing that in ways that make sense to you. Those are the things that I would suggest. I don't know if other people have other ideas.
Well, I think I kind of want to add, when we look at support groups, sometimes I think we get stuck in like what a support group is, but you have a variety of support groups in your life. So, you have family, you have friends, you have people that you talk to about work-related things. You might have people that you exercise with. You might have people that, like the accountability, keep you on task. A really good friend that's going to give you feedback, the feedback you need, right, in a kind way. So those are, kind of things like, don't forget about all of those support systems that you have. And I was looking at something, and I wish I could remember exactly where I saw this, but they were talking about this is a good time actually to start connecting with people that you had connections with, but kind of lost touch because of, work, school, your daily grind. And now you're home and you might be able to start connecting with those people. I know that I have some cousins that live, in different states and things like that. And I see them, periodically or text them periodically. And, we've been starting to reach out a lot more. So it's kind of nice. So remember who those people are that can be supportive of you. And so it's not just the group that you're face to face with all the time, but if you're an extrovert, you can start, branching out to these other people, that are in your life at different times and start building that support a little bit more.
Thank you. We have a question for, I believe, Ann Lowley, when you were speaking. With the students and or staff you're currently working with, do they typically fall under this framework? And have you seen anything out of this typical framework?
Okay, I guess I'm not understanding the question. And the framework of, dealing with anxiety? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know if Vaughn is still on
Oh, Vaughn.
here. Vaughn, would you like to chime in?
Hi, and just the general framework that you put up there, people deal with anxiety, the uncertainty, and you had the typical things that they're going through. So the people that you're seeing, are they under the typical framework, or have you seen anything out of the order?
Well, I have to, say that our students in our college, but this translates to all colleges across the nation, the number one reason why students go and seek mental health counseling in college is to deal with anxiety. So I would say from that perspective, yes, many of our students are dealing with anxiety. The source of their anxiety is not always the same.
Okay.
So, you would come at different, I would, have like different strategies that we could talk about and see which fits them better for what they're dealing with, what anxiety they're dealing with, sort of their personality or temperament, what works best for them. And then looking at what are they going to be more likely to stick to? Which strategy is something they're going to say, okay, I think I can do this, and I'm going to do this. And with that piece, kind of going back to support, I always try to find out, while we're looking for these strategies, this is what we're kind of going to work on. You come back and tell me what works the best for you. We're going to tweak it to work better for you. But also, who in your life is supportive of this and saying, yes, I've got your back. I'm going to help you do this. So I guess it's individualized depending on the anxiety, but many of the strategies are similar depending on, what's going to work for that individual to help them manage their emotions and to help them calm so that they can put the strategy in place. That's always the number one thing. How do I calm myself so that I can start doing these strategies? Kind of going back to that example, we can tell our best friend what to do, right? But we have trouble telling ourselves because our emotions cloud that. So the first thing is, how do I kind of calm myself? And then I can put these strategies in place. And the more you practice them, the more that becomes what you will do. Because, if we practice something, we get used to it, and it's going to be our go-to. It's like when you learn anything, with exercise. If you're an athlete, you practice. When you practice, it just becomes, boom, you do it. You don't think about it. So when you put these strategies in place, hopefully you practice them enough so that becomes your go-to. And you can handle, things, stress and anxiety much better. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, and we have one more question.
Okay.
If we have professional staff struggling, what resources are available for them during this time?
I put in the chat that I put some additional slides together about resources, and given that I was having some wonky stuff with my PowerPoint, I'm not even going to try to pull them up at this point. I'm going to send Danielle my slides. But there are some free virtual resources on top of what Anne mentioned that could be helpful. And then also have some information on our employee assistance program, both the Impact Solutions, which is our EAP program. They also have a lot of, so if you go into the employee, the Living Well portal, so log into the Penguin portal, go into Living Well employee wellness program webpage. There are all kinds of good resources on there, some specific to COVID, some that are not. So for our faculty and staff, that would be a place I would encourage people to start with that. And then I also have a slide on some more Ohio specific kinds of resources, both the crisis text line, the Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services has a helpline, and there's a disaster distress helpline. So I've got some additional information on that. Again, that'll be in the PowerPoint slides that I sent to Danielle that she'll post with the whole presentation.
Thank you. And we had another question that popped up for you guys. I have struggled with anxiety for some time, and although it's much more controlled now, than they used to be. What are some recommendations if someone with anxiety or depression find themselves in a slum where all they want to do is stay in bed all day?
Yeah. And that's a challenge, right? Because when we're feeling like that, we want to stay in bed all day. And sometimes when I'm talking to students that are dealing with that, I kind of say, you almost have to get behind yourself and push yourself out. And that's easy for me to say to someone, but it is a challenge. So it's like, you know, sort of that self-talk. You know, I know what's happening. I know that I'm feeling sad, and kind of knowing why you're feeling sad in the moment or anxious in the moment. But I want to say to myself as well, what can I do to help myself right now? Because I know I have the strategies to do that. So sometimes that self-talk will kind of motivate you and help you push yourself out the door. Along with that comes the support that you have in your life. And that's good, healthy support. That's going to, you know, sometimes I'll say, pick someone for your support system that's going to give you positive reinforcements. And it's going to say, hey, I talked to you this morning, I'm talking to you now, and you're still in bed. Let's do something. Right now, that's kind of hard, but they can, you know, let's get connected. Let's play a game online. Let's talk. Let's Zoom so we can see each other, but having that support piece too. So it's kind of doing what you can for your self-talk, which I know is a challenge, but keep saying, I recognize what's going on. I know I'm feeling these emotions, and I also know I have strategies and I can help myself, and I will do this. Or I'm going to call that one person or that two people that I know that's going to advocate for me and kindly put me back on track. The third piece of that, I guess, is, you know, kind of connecting with a mental health professional and set up counseling. Because when you meet with someone on a regular basis, they can review the strategies and kind of help you with that self-talk process. So when you tell them, this is how I'm dealing with it, by talking to a professional, both of you can kind of come together and say, you know, here's something else that I see that could be helpful for you that you're perhaps not doing right now. So let's try this strategy as well. So that's, you know, kind of having that talking out availability is also very helpful. Does that answer your question, Sonia?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Due to time restrictions, if you have any more questions, please email them to me and I will forward them to the panelists. And all of their slides will be available on the Division of Student Experience webpage. If you have any ideas for future topics, please email me. Once again, my email is on this PowerPoint. Please join us again next week, April 28th. Next week's topic is student employment working remotely. Remember, again, the information will be available. The video will be available on the website. Thank you all for presenting and taking some time out of your day to come into this conversation and learn some more information. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, everyone.
Good job, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.